All right, today we're diving into something pretty foundational. It's a new standard called ERC-8400, and it sits right at the fascinating intersection of artificial intelligence and blockchain. Now, this is way more than just another technical update. What we're really talking about here is a potential blueprint for a whole new, decentralized economy, one run by machines.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's just step back and think about the big picture for a second. Imagine this. What if AI agents, these autonomous pieces of software, could actually trust each other? What if they could collaborate, make deals, and check each other's work, all on their own, anywhere on the planet? And, here's the key part, without needing some giant tech company in the middle to broker the deal. How would you even begin to build that kind of trust in a trustless world?
So, to figure that out, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about this coming agent economy. Then we'll get into the new standard itself, ERC-8004. After that, we'll look at its three core pillars, the triad of trust. We'll see what you can build with it, and then wrap up with some of the challenges and what's next. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, we need a little context. Because we are, without a doubt, standing on the edge of a future that's going to be run by autonomous AI. And, as you can probably guess, that's going to create some pretty unique problems. And when we talk about this shift, the scale is just massive. We're talking about a global AI sector that's projected to be worth over $1 trillion by 2031. $1 trillion. And the engine behind a huge chunk of that growth, it's going to be these autonomous, independent AI agents.
So this is what people are starting to call the agentic economy. It's a whole new economic model where the primary players aren't people or companies anymore, but software agents. Seriously, just try to picture it. AI agents managing supply chains, executing complex financial contracts, maybe even creating their own companies, and doing it all without a human needing to sign off on anything. But there's a huge problem, a bottleneck. Right now, almost all of our advanced AI is trapped inside what we call walled gardens. The private, proprietary cloud systems of the big tech giants. So an AI agent working for, say, Company A has no real way to trust or work with an agent from Company B. They're totally siloed. The bottom line is, there's just no neutral open language for them to speak to each other.
And that is the exact problem that this new Ethereum standard, ERC-8004, sets out to fix.
So its official name is Trustless Agents. And what it does is create this universal shared layer for AI agents to find, and more importantly, trust one another. What's really smart about it is that it's not trying to reinvent the wheel. Instead, it takes an existing protocol from Google, the A2A protocol, which is basically just a way for agents to communicate, and it retrofits it, you could say, for the open, decentralized world of the blockchain.
Okay, this is a really, really important point, so I want to be crystal clear. ERC-8004 is a technical standard. Think of it like a rulebook or a blueprint. It is not a tradable cryptocurrency. If you see some token out there with the name ERC-8004, especially a fungible one, you should know it's completely unrelated and likely a scam. The standard just uses NFT technology to create a unique digital passport for each AI agent. It's about identity, not a financial asset you can speculate on.
All right, so that's what it is. But how does it actually work? How does it build this trust layer? Well, the whole architecture rests on three core pillars that live on the blockchain. And it follows this really practical design philosophy of putting only the absolute minimum amount of information on-chain. And these pillars are actually three smart contracts that are all linked together. Each one is designed to answer a really basic but crucial question for any agent. The first is the identity registry, which answers, "Who are you?" The second is the reputation registry, which asks, "Can I trust you?" And the third is the validation registry, which asks, "Can you prove you did good work?"
So let's break that down, starting with identity. The identity registry is what gives every single AI agent its own unique on-chain ID, and it does this using an ERC-721 NFT. Now, again, don't think of this NFT as a piece of digital art. Think of it as a tamper-proof digital passport. It proves the agent is who it says it is. This passport is permanent. The agent can take it anywhere, and it links out to an off-chain agent card that has more details, like what the agent is good at.
The other two registries then build right on top of that identity. For reputation, it's pretty clever. It doesn't try to store some simple reputation score on the blockchain. That'd be way too clunky and expensive. Instead, all it does is create a permanent, unchangeable record that says, yes, feedback was authorized for this interaction. Then, other specialized services can come along, read that data off-chain, and build their own complex reputation scores. The validation registry works in a similar way. It provides on-chain hooks so an agent can submit its work to be verified by auditors. This creates a permanent public resume of its proven abilities.
And when you put all this together, you start to see the bigger picture. The goal is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. By putting just these basic, essential pieces of trust on the blockchain, ERC-8004 opens the door for a whole new ecosystem of services that anyone can build, without asking for permission.
This is really the key idea. The standard takes these fuzzy, abstract concepts, like identity and reputation, and turns them into solid programmable code. They become these fundamental building blocks. The creators call them trust Legos, which I think is a perfect analogy. Any developer anywhere can now pick up these Legos and start building much more complex and automated systems.
And because this foundation is totally open, it means a whole marketplace of new services can spring up. You could have people building agent marketplaces, almost like an app store for AIs, or specialized reputation services that give you really detailed trust scores. You could have networks of auditors competing to verify agent work, or even decentralized insurance protocols that could, for example, ensure a task an agent is performing based entirely on its proven on-chain history.
Okay, let's make this concrete with a quick example. Imagine you have a smart contract that's holding a payment for a job. It's an escrow. That contract can be coded to keep an eye on the validation registry. As soon as it sees on-chain proof that the agent's work was successfully signed off by a validator that you trust, boom, it automatically releases the payment to the agent. There's no human in the loop, no third-party company taking a cut. It's just pure, automated, and verifiable trust.
Now, of course, a vision this big is never easy. It's not all smooth sailing. This standard is really powerful, for sure, but there are definitely some big security risks and practical hurdles that the community is going to have to figure out.
The good news is the designers have already thought about a few of these. For instance, what about domain squatting, where people grab all the good agent names just to hoard them? They've proposed a two-step registration process to make that harder. Or what about civil attacks, where one person could create thousands of fake AI agents to game the system? The plan there is to make it economically costly to create an identity and to rely on some pretty sophisticated off-chain analysis to spot those fake networks. And to stop the blockchain from getting clogged up with useless data, you can do simple things like making requests expire or requiring a small bond to post them.
And beyond just security, you have some very real practical problems. First up, gas costs. Doing anything on Ethereum's main network can be expensive, so for this whole ecosystem to actually work without costing a fortune, it's going to rely heavily on what we call Layer 2 scaling networks, basically faster, cheaper sidechains. Then there's privacy. Remember, everything on a public blockchain is, well, public. That's a huge concern. Down the road, technologies like zero-knowledge proofs could solve this, letting an agent prove something is true without revealing the secret data itself, but we're not quite there yet.
But even with all those challenges, you just can't deny the momentum behind this. The timeline for its development has been ridiculously fast. I mean, it went from just an idea to a stable proposal in only a matter of months. When you see that kind of speed, plus serious backing from huge names like MetaMask, Google, and the Ethereum Foundation, well, that tells you there's a real sense of urgency and a whole lot of confidence that this is the right path forward.
And that really brings us back to the big question. What ERC-8004 represents is a huge, bold bet. It's a bet that the future of AI isn't going to be locked away on a few companies' centralized servers. It's a bet that it's going to be built on open, permissionless protocols that belong to everyone. This is a genuine attempt to build a neutral, foundational trust layer for an entire new economy, an economy run by machines. And whether or not it actually succeeds, well, that's all going to depend on what developers and the community decide to build on top of it.